Hello everyone, welcome to my 5th blog in my UK general election series. Don't worry, if you're looking for the Yellow Manifesto and my views on them, they're coming. But I thought I would interrupt the flow by talking about the debates. Now, the first debate was held on ITV last night, or STV if you're in Scotland, UTV if you're in Northern Ireland, all the same channel, just different names. So that happened last night. I was working, so I listened to it on Radio 4. BBC Radio 4 were broadcasting it, so that was quite cool to listen to the debates audio-wise. And I saw the vast majority of it later on, and highlights as well. And the debate basically was a Ministerial debate between Gordon Brown, the Labour leader and present Prime Minister, David Cameron, the Conservative leader of the opposition, and Nick Clegg, the leader of the Liberal Democrats. The three of them were talking about domestic affairs last night. In regards to what they were talking about, Gordon Brown was coming across rather with the facts. He was quite reassuring. David Cameron seemed a bit rattled at times. Nick Clegg was looking straight into the camera, straight down the lens like I am now, and he kept that for 90% of the time. So he was really trying to get the audience in there, and he won, because at some points, and this is what I think, Gordon Brown had the opportunity to ask questions to David Cameron. At Prime Minister's Questions, which is what happens every Wednesday during Parliament, members of the House of Commons can ask the Prime Minister questions about anything, basically. And David Cameron always gets a swipe every week at Gordon Brown, and Gordon Brown always retaliates back, but he never gets a chance to really ask questions. So Gordon was turning the tables on David last night and asking all these questions, and he seemed to be quite enjoying it. David Cameron's a bit in the back foot. He looked a bit stressed and a bit freaked out at times, but Nick Clegg just basically stood at the sideline while them two were bickering, and it seemed like two siblings bickering, and you got a third one on the sidelines going, "I'm the sensible one," and that's what it seemed like to me. And he was just basically telling you all the points and all the clear clarity of it. What I'll do is, it's a bit difficult to explain and get my head around. It's the first time I've actually not got my head around something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a couple of links. First of all, I'm going to give a link on YouTube for the debates highlights, which are on YouTube. I'm also going to give a link in regards to some criticisms. I'm going to try and find one from Sky, I'm going to try and find one from ITV, I'm going to try and find one from the BBC, and give them a link to the video. They will be linked to the video, they will also be linked into my favourite videos section, playlist of my UK general election. So they'll be there as well for you to look at and view. Just very quickly as well, since the debate is going on, my personal opinion is it was a bit of a rammy last night, to coin a Scottish phrase, a bit of a wild one. Another point is voting. I know I've mentioned voting before, and I mentioned that I've voted in a general election before, but I just realised to me that my sister hasn't voted in a general election before. My two cousins on my mum's side haven't voted in a general election before. Neither of them have. I'm interested to know what they want, who they're going to vote for, but the thing is, they don't need to say. But there seems to be apathy there, and that is interesting, because it's not really apathy for me. I'm now kind of set in two parties that I'll go with. I've narrowed it down. I now have two parties that I would go with. I'm not going to say who yet, because it's too early. Let's just say the debate did shift it more towards one last night, but I'm still not sure which party I'm going to go for. The polls are very interesting at the moment, and you'll see them along the bottom, because I made sure they're along the bottom there for you to look at. But in regards to voters and first time voting, it's an interesting subject, because there's a lot of people at the work as well who don't want to vote or don't know about voting. And I'll just say this now, and I thought it was really funny. This is the impression I got. One of the guys is saying that he will be voting, but he'll be voting for SNP. Now, he lives in Giffnock, which is in the constituency of Renfrewshire East. Now, I have a funny feeling he was saying that tongue-in-cheek, but when I turned around and said to him, actually the candidate list does have a BNP candidate in it, he went a little bit white. So maybe his thinking was a bit off there, but you know, I don't know who wants to vote now, but there's a lot of people there who don't, and this is a worrying thing. You should really have the right to vote. You should vote, because if you don't vote, all that does is lets in apathy, it lets in problems, and it means that things can't be done right. Reform can only be done properly, as far as I'm concerned, democratically and through the government of the day. The government of the day looks like they do want to do reform, whoever that may be, and it could be possibly 3 now, the way the polls are going. But they are the only people who really could give you a yay or nay to changes. And unless you vote, you have no right to say how your country is run. And that's my point there. So really, if you haven't decided to vote, it doesn't matter if you vote for Independent, and personally it doesn't matter if you vote for BNP or Green or UKIP, or if you vote for SNP, Clyde Cymru, or you go for all the parties in Northern Ireland, or if you vote for the big 3. Whoever you vote for, regardless of whether that person gets in or not, if you vote, then you have a moral right to say your feelings and opinions. If you don't vote, then I don't see any moral right. Because as people start spouting things off saying, oh, Parliament's crap and everything's not working and that's not working and this isn't working, do you know what? If you haven't actually made an intention to vote and actually voted when you had the opportunity to put your view forward, then you have no moral right to speak to me in regards to the whole policies being right and wrong. So I feel it's really important that you should vote. Doesn't matter who you vote for, but as long as you vote, you then have the moral right to say to people like me who do vote and want to get involved in politics, to have your views across. Otherwise you get ignored, and that's what the problem is. People think, oh, it's not going to make any difference in the vote. Actually it does, because it means your voice isn't heard at the time it needs to be heard, and when something massive happens out there, you don't get an opportunity to say anything. So really, it's really important you do vote, because it gives you the moral right to discuss and talk about things. So it doesn't matter who you vote for on May the 6th, please, please, please vote. That's my piece for just now. Bye.